I accept the educational challenge. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give praise and thanks to Allah for His love and mercy upon humanity, always when we go astray, giving us guidance that we may not incur His wrath and judgment. He always raises up from among a people a messenger from one of their own. We thank Allah for all of His prophets and messengers, those we know and those we don't know. Among them, Moses with the Torah, Jesus and the Gospel, Muhammad ibn Abdullah and the Holy Quran. We can never thank Allah enough for His coming to us, the black man and woman in America, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. We thank Him for raising in our midst the one we now know to be the promised Messiah and predicted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank them both for their mercy in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet all of you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Executive Council, and the Ministry of Education of the Nation of Islam, I wish to welcome you to the first national online conference organizing our Ministry of Education to give birth to a new educational paradigm. This conference is phase one of an ongoing process identifying priorities. I have been given the privilege and the honor of opening this conference, and my responsibility is to lay a foundation for our dialogue. So the question is, what then is education, and what is a paradigm? In 1986, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan began releasing a monumental course entitled Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development. I would like to share with you from Study Guide 21 of 21 units of that course, which is entitled The Education Challenge, a New Educational Paradigm for the 21st Century. And I want to share with you from his glossary one or two definitions that I think will provide us with direction for our conference. Paradigm. A paradigm is a pattern or model and exemplar. This word paradigm is a composite from the Greek language meaning to show. Initially linked to grammar, it was expanded 40 years ago to describe a scientific discipline through a particular period of time. Minister Farrakhan's use of the term paradigm is in relation to a complete transformation of America's current educational system, which is called the dominant paradigm. Minister Farrakhan is calling for a paradigm shift. This means a dramatic change in how society perceives, understands, and organizes itself around reality. The teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are not designed for us to reform, repair, or fix the current educational paradigm or even this society. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings are ushering in a complete new world order. They are the means by which Allah is bringing about a universal change. These are the words of Minister Farrakhan from A Torchlight for America. Education is supposed to be the proper cultivation of the gifts and talents of the individual through the acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge satisfies our natural thirst for gaining that which will make us one with our Maker. So true education cultivates the person, mind, body, and spirit by bringing us closer to fulfilling our purpose for being, which is to reflect Allah, God. A new public school system should relate the curriculum to the self. When we see the curriculum as the outgrowth of self, then we can identify with the curriculum, giving us an incentive to learn. In the Muhammad University of Islam school system, our students' learning is facilitated because they identify with the subjects. They are taught that they are the subject. They are taught, I am chemistry, not I am a student of chemistry. Rather, I am biology. I am economics. I am history. I am mathematics. When we relate the forces within self to the forces that lie outside the self, this connects us to the subjects we are studying in a manner that we can ultimately master those subjects. So brothers and sisters, that is our mission with the Department or the Ministry of Education. It is to facilitate the desire of the human being to become one with Allah. And now I'm going to read to you a letter from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which I think really defines what this conference should be about. And this letter was written almost 30 years ago, June the 5th, 1987, and it is more timely today than it was then, as is the nature of Allah's revelation. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, dear believer. May this letter find you well and in good spirits. The knowledge of self is the greatest of all knowledge. It is akin to the knowledge of Allah, God. Both of these knowledges, which are really one, are the key to our return to God, self, and power. The study of ourselves as black people, original people of the earth, must never be abandoned. We must know ourselves historically, biologically, genetically, but we must also go to the root of ourselves, which is knowledge of the nature in which we are created, which is the essence of self-knowledge. Master Fard Muhammad called all of us Muslims. This is an indication that our real national identity does not come from the earth or a particular landmass, for national boundaries are actually artificial. We are from the earth, but the essence of us is from Allah. This is why we do not refer to ourselves as members of a nation tied to a particular landmass, but we are directly tied to the Creator and the nature in which we are created. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are members of the Creator's nation, so we must act accordingly. So we are the lost found members of the Nation of Islam. Our natural home is the entire planet Earth. This is why the actual facts and the student enrollment, Master Fard Muhammad asked us the total area of the planet Earth, 196,940,000 square miles. How much is the land? 57,255,000 square miles. And how much is the water? 139,685,000 square miles. For this earth is our home, all of it. Phase 2 of this study, by the help of Allah, will take us more deeply into self. In English Lesson C1, question 19 asks, how many original Muslims are there in North America? The answer at the time of that writing in the early 1930s was a little over 17 million. The question is then asked, did I hear you say that some of the 17 million do not know they are Muslims? The answer is yes, sir. I hardly believe that unless they are blind, deaf, and dumb. Well, they were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when they were babies. To be blind, deaf, or dumb is a handicap. However, when we are afflicted with all three of these conditions, blindness, deafness, dumbness, we are exceedingly handicapped. A handicap is any disadvantage that makes success more difficult. It includes being physically disabled as well as mentally deficient. Look at how far we have fallen since the deportation of Moon from the Earth 66 trillion years ago. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that Allah used the history of the work of the God of Moon 66 trillion years ago to teach us something of ourselves and our enemy. We, the black man and woman in America, are devoid of wisdom and the knowledge of self and others, even as the moon is devoid of water. The fall of Adam represents man's succumbing to the power of his lower nature, the underworld. All in Adam die because his fall under the powers of the lower self resulted in ruin, disgrace, and ultimately spiritual death, followed by an untimely physical death. We have lost our ability to sustain ourselves on this earth for any period of time, for we are living a life lower than the animals. But Allah intends for us to be His vicegerent, His Khalifa, His successor in this realm. In the Bible, in the book of Revelations, the rulers of the earth are given the names serpent, beast, and dragon. They are not considered redeemable. We are in an even worse condition than the rulers of this world, for we accept them as our leaders and take guidance from them. As a result, we have become savages. In Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, we are taught that a savage means a person that has lost the knowledge of himself and who is living a beast life. This is why we are likened to the physically dead, and our return to civilized thinking is actually considered an impossibility. However, this exquisite knowledge of God, self, and others given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will ultimately lead us to absolute power and mastery over self. As a result, the devil will be completely destroyed. No more devils will exist on the earth, not just by physical destruction, but by the return of man to himself by mastery over the forces within himself, the lack of which led to his fall 66 trillion years ago. Best wishes for your continued success along the path of self-mastery. Assalamu alaikum, your brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan, servant to the lost found nation of Islam in the West. Brothers and sisters, may Allah bless us with a productive and wonderful conference. Thank you for listening to these few words. Assalamu alaikum.